NBA 2K25 is free on PS Plus, and if you're new to the game and you want to learn how to dribble like this is the video for you. This move is actually easier than you think, and I'm gonna have you dribbling like this and shot creating like this by the end of this video. By the end of this video, I'll have you splashing like Steph Curry and taking all sorts of contested shots and making them. We're gonna go through all the basic tips and tricks that are needed to beat your defender with some of the simplest but most effective combos in the game, while at the same time understanding the mechanics of defense and how to punish your defenders by being too cocky and dribble heavy. I'm also going to show you my secret layup method that will have you finishing over everybody and how to dunk over your opponents. Now let's start the beginner's guide to 2K with a look at the settings. So if you're completely new to 2K, I want you to go to Learn 2K, which is basically 2K's tutorial feature. And from here, there are guided tutorials in the beginner tutorial and advanced tutorial, including film room, which gives you detailed breakdowns of what certain controller inputs do. But what I want you to do is go into freestyle, pick your favorite team. In my case, that's the Golden State Warriors. And from here, you're in a free practice mode, allowing you to understand what the different inputs and how to play the game goes. If you want to understand what the controls are in NBA 2K25, you can go into the controls menu to see the different types of controls. It's a very complicated game that's very deep, complex, and relies a lot of familiarity, so you can go cycle between your shooting controls, your dribbling controls, passing, defense, post offense, off-ball offense, on-ball defense and off-ball defense, advanced offense, and advanced defense. Now, if you think that that is a lot to cover, don't worry. I have linked in the description of this video different guided tutorials for different aspects of the game if you want a more handheld experience that will guide you through the motions. And now let's go to another set of important settings. But the most important thing is to go into controller settings. Now, as a start, I want you to turn vibration function and trigger effect off. And here you have shot timing profiles. You have options based on how you want to play the game. So if you're a complete beginner, I would recommend starting with difficulty based. You also have real player percentage, which basically lets the game choose the outcome for you. This is based on the defensive coverage and your players' badges and ratings. But if you want a more timing-based experience and you are a complete beginner, I want you to put this at low risk, low reward. Low risk, low reward basically allows completely new users to have a more forgiving timing option when shooting. We'll talk about shooting and how to shoot later on, but if you are completely new to the game, I recommend going with low risk, low reward. For layup timing profile, you have the option once again to choose whether you want to time layups or you want to let the game determine the outcome based on your selection of layup, the defense, and your player's attributes. If you're completely new to the game, I recommend keeping this at real player percentage. But once again, there is a significant boost when you choose a timing-based option. And for both jump shots and for layups, high risk reward gives you the ability to hit crazy shots so long as you can time your shots really well. For the rest of the settings, we'll keep free throw timing at user timing, and shot timing visual cue is basically understanding the speed in which you release your inputs to shoot the basketball. So, release is your very late release, and jump is your very early release. What you're seeing in the screen right now is a visual representation of these different release points. The difference between jump visual cue and your release visual cue is about 8 milliseconds. Let's start with shooting, which is going to be the most important skill as a complete beginner. To initiate a jump shot in 2K, hold square. You have to release square at the optimal release point, and if you have the shot meter turned on, as soon as you press square, you'll see this white arrow rising into this boxed arrow. The goal is to release square to align those two arrows together, and if you do so, you will get an excellently timed shot. So I got push setting as my visual release cue, but there are a number of settings as I mentioned earlier on. Here's a quick summary. So once again, think of the jump release point as the very early release. Just take a look at this. You basically have to release square as soon as Steph Curry jumps. Set point basically tells you that to release the jump shot when you have your elbow set. push means when you're about to push the ball out of your hands, and the release setting, basically you have to release square as the ball is about to leave your fingertips. So now that you got the mechanics right, what determines shot success? So basically, it's a combination of getting the timing mechanics right, but at the same time, making sure that you are shooting wide open. But also, the less energy you spend and the less fatigued you are, the easier that shot will be to time. So, under your circle indicator right there is a long bar with a yellow and blue color. That is your fatigue meter, and as you can see, I did not deplete a lot of my fatigue, making this jump shot relatively easier to time. So in NBA 2K25, you are rewarded for taking very smart shots. These shots are considered shots that are open and also in a situation when you are not fatigued, so don't waste that energy. Once again, below this red circle indicator is that long bar which represents your energy. Make sure that that is close to filled up as possible. But there's another indicator that's important, and these are the shading indicators. So these three zones just inside your player indicator circle are what you call your shading indicator zones. If a zone is lit red, you cannot attack that side. So Jrue Holiday is occupying that left side of the shading indicator. That means if you try to push towards Jrue Holiday's direction, he will stonewall you as he does right here. And if you are stonewalled, you will lose an adrenaline bar, which is these 3 bars beneath your player energy fatigue meter. As soon as you lose one of those adrenaline bars, this penalizes you, making your shot success that much less possible. This is the basic defensive system in NBA 2K25. Your goal is to make sure that as a defender, you deplete as many of those adrenaline bars from your opponent. And if you do, it will make an individual shot success much less. Even though I have very low energy spent here, because the adrenaline bars are 0, it makes it that much more difficult to shoot. So as an offensive player, your goal is to create as much space between you and your defender as possible. And as you can see here, even though I have low fatigue because my adrenaline bars are full, that was an easy make. So once again, I am avoiding my defender here by shifting him around and making sure that he doesn't close any of my shading indicators so that I can attack him that way and shoot much more easily. Now let's go into some tips for shooting. Now, there's another set of options that are going to be important for you to use and customize, but only a few of them. Go to Customize HUD, which is your heads-up display. And there are a few options here I'd like for you to turn on just to help you develop your skill as well. Go to Shot Feedback, and instead of Simple, you go to All Shots. Turn distance off, and what this will give you is a more detailed set of indicators for feedback. So you have your timing and you have your defensive coverage telling you whether you timed your shot excellent, slightly late, slightly early, or if the defense is tight or a little bit light. So this will give you more information on why you potentially missed your jump shot. The other thing I want you to do is consider turning off your shot meter for your shots. Now, why would you like to do this? Well, basically NBA 2K25 gives players a boost if they turn off their shot meters. If you have your layup on user timing, you might want to consider turning these off as well as free throws. 2K25 gives you different options to customize your gameplay experience, but for some of these settings, there are actual hidden gameplay boosts that could benefit you as a completely new user. An additional boost to shooting comes from a new shooting method in 2K25, and this is rhythm shooting, which basically is a 2-motion input using the right stick in order to hit shots more consistently. So I'll let the game devs explain it themselves.
With rhythm shooting, what you can do, hold down the pro stick, and then as he gets to the set point, you want to push the stick forward to match the rhythm of the shot. What we're seeing in-house internally is everyone who's taking the time to learn it and practice with it, they've all kind of jumped their ceiling up a level.
Rhythm shooting is going to be all about watching your players' animation cues. That means you have to stay locked into their shooting motion. So now you're not just supposed to lock into the release point of your jumper, but now you also have to monitor your players' follow through. And here I'll break down what I want to look for. So when I see my player's elbow straighten or his hand is underneath the ball, that's when I start pushing the right stick up. I then aim to fully extend the right stick at the peak of my jumper and then release the right stick right where my player flicks his wrists for that follow through. If that's too many steps, you can just basically look at 2 animation cues. Find what works for you. Once again, once I see that elbow set, push the right stick up after. But now what I want to do is just basically time the release of the right stick with the follow through. This is what works for me, but you can look for your own animation cue. Once again, the first thing I look at is that elbow. Once that is set, I begin pushing up the right stick, peaking at the apex of my player's jumper, and then I time the release of the right stick with the follow through. And now let's talk about the simplified dribble system that makes it easier for new players to hit combos like this. Believe it or not, after this video, you'll be able to replicate this combo pretty easily, I guarantee it. But there's also an additional setting in the controller setting that I want you to disable, and this is your passive dribble hand switches, which basically allows you more control over how you dribble the ball. So let's start with our first easy dribble input method using right stick size ups. So what right stick size ups are basically different crossover moves by tapping the right stick up left to up right to your non-ball hand, to the left or to the right to your non-ball hand, or down left or down right to your non-ball hand. What this does is basically give you a front crossover, a between the legs crossover, or a behind the back crossover depending on the direction of your input. These are called size-ups because they're meant to measure the reaction of your defender, and you can combo them into speed boosts. Speed boosts are basically launches out of your signature size-ups, and you can execute this by holding R2 and then pushing the left stick up left or up right towards the direction of your ball hand or non-ball hand. If you choose your non-ball hand, you will execute a crossover launch, as you can see right here. I have a separate video which discusses speed boosts in more detail. I do recommend you check that. But here is an example of why speed boosts are so important. These are controlled by your dribble styles, and I launched right here with a crossover speed launch using James Harden's dribble style. So here, a simple between the leg size up into a speed boost launch gives us the speed and the angle that we need in order to beat our defender and hop into a wide open shot. So now let's talk about comboing up the easy way. After any standard right stick input that initiates a size up, immediately hold L2, and this will give you a sequence of combos that will depend on the signature size up animation that you choose. So after a right stick tap up left here, which initiates a front crossover, I immediately hold L2, giving us that dribble sequence. After tapping the right stick right here to give us a between the leg size up and then holding L2, it gives us another sequence. And the last sequence is done by tapping the right stick down and to the right while holding L2, which gives us a separate behind the back dribble combo sequence that we can combo as usual into a speed boost, or you can set up different combos from there. Now, here are more easy dribble combos which just require one input. Tapping the right stick up gives your player a regular size up combo chain, and tapping the right stick up while holding R2 gives you a more aggressive set of combos. These dribble sequences are so easy. They are done by just a single tap of the right stick. And from here, you can get an idea of how you can now build different types of combos. Using what we learned, for example, from our signature size up combo chain, if we combo that with our regular breakdown dribbles and aggressive breakdown dribbles into our size ups, now we have the initial tools that we need to execute dribble movements like this with relative ease. But you don't need complicated dribble chains. Here are some easy and powerful combos. So now, while holding R2, once again, initiate any of your right stick signature size up combos. For players like Trae Young, for example, his between the legs escape dribbles generate way more space compared to his regular size ups. Now, for your behind the back escapes, you have to combo it with a different dribble move first. So let's break that down slowly here. I tap the right stick to the right to initiate a between the legs cross, then hold R2 and tap the right stick down left. This gives us Trae Young's behind the back escape. A variation of this that is powerful is the behind the back momentum launch. Now, instead of just tapping the right stick down left or down right towards your non-ball hand once, you double tap it down and to the left or down and to the right to your non-ball hand twice, very quickly. As you can see, this is a wrap around behind the back dribble launch that will get you a very nice angle if you have the right animation equipped. Just take a look at how it launches Jalen Green downwards and to the left to force Podziemski to react, and then we counter with a step back jumper. Okay, let's break that down. While holding R2, we initiate a between the legs crossover size up by tapping the right stick to the left. And then take a look at how quickly I tap the right stick down and to the right twice to launch a behind the back dribble launch going to the right. As you can see, the angle is very nice. It forces Podziemski to react and we're able to counter accordingly with a simple jump shot. So from there, you can actually combo into different escape dribble combos. As you can see right here, after Steph Curry's behind the back launch, I am still holding R2 and then I tap the right stick up and to the left or up and to the right towards your non-ball hand to create what I call escape dribble combos. These are great in generating a large amount of space moving the opposite direction. You can launch out of it, or you can actually make sure that you put distance between you and your defender, as you can see right here, giving us an easy angle to attack different types of defensive coverages. This is one move that you should start to use, and it is actually one of the more overused moves online just because of how effective it is in terms of generating that change in direction and speed that you can use to create your shots. Now, an easy way to create shots in 2K25 are your go-to shots. This is a one right stick input that combines a set of dribble moves and a shot at the end. And this move is very simple. You just hold the right stick up. By holding the right stick up, you initiate a signature dribble sequence combined with one of your favorite player's signature go-to shots. You will get different types of go-to shot animations if you're standing at the triple threat or if the ball is in your right hand. As you can see right here, we get a different type of go-to shot animation, or if the ball is in your left hand, you have different sets of go-to shot animations. And if at any point you don't want to continue into a shot because your defender is basically defending you, just release the right stick before you enter the shot motion. But why go-to shots are very effective is that 1, you get a boost to shooting by using go-to shots, and 2, you can actually generate some nasty ankle breaker animations for the more creative go-to shots, as you can see right here. Because it takes a while for these animation sequences to play out, using go-to shots will have to be combined with some defensive stun mechanic and a boost to your shooting to make these shots easier to hit. So now let's talk about 2 important badges that will be crucial for beating your defender. These are Strong Handle and Lightning Launch. So Strong Handle basically uses your strength in combination with your dribble skills to beat your defender, while Lightning Launch uses your speed to blow by your defender. And Strong Handle and Lightning Launch are badges, and badges are basically additional perks that you receive on offense, defense, playmaking, or in some cases finishing, that boosts your player's ability to make them act more like a signature NBA athlete. What you're seeing right here is Steph Curry blowing by Fred VanVleet using Lightning Launch. As you can see, after our dribble sequence, speed boosting out of it gives us Lightning Launch, which when activated will allow you to blow past your defender so long as he does not have a high perimeter defense rating, at least high enough to counter your specific badge. In this case, as you can see, Westbrook is attached to us at the hip. Just by tapping turbo and bursting out of this, we use Lightning Launch to create that initial bit of separation, as you can see right here, which is crucial enough to give us an advantage to attack the basket. Lightning Launch can be activated out of dribble moves, or in this situation, a simple jab step or turbo launch out of a neutral position. So think of it as Lightning Launch needed to get you speed blow-bys, whereas Strong Handle, which we see in this situation, is basically using your physicality to counter very physical defenses and using in combination with your dribble ability to break out of those physical interactions. If you are a bigger guard, hell, even if you're just a small guard, Strong Handle is one of the most important badges in the game. As you can see right here, as soon as I feel that dribble sequence is being interrupted by physicality, I rotate the right stick counterclockwise to spin away from my defender. And if your defender does not have the perimeter defense or badges necessary to counter this move, it's an easy blow by every time. Strong handle is activated using dribble counters or even triple threat counters. I have 2 different videos on strong handle that I do recommend you watch after you're done with this video. Strong handle is one of the most overpowered and, in my opinion, necessary badges in 2K25 just because it will give you that ability to counter physical defenses, which a lot of people do online. Next, if there's one layup method you need to learn for 2K25, it's this overpowered layup method, and it's super easy. Just hold the right stick up as long as you're approaching the basket, and you can activate this even as far out as the 3-point line. This might sound crazy, but trust me, look at this situation right here. Kyrie's at the 3-point line and I'm holding the right stick up and to the right in this situation. I'm activating it from this far out because we're taking advantage of 2K's motion matching system and the strength of the physical finisher badge. So this method is best used in combination if your player has physical finisher, which is another badge perk that allows you to finish through contact and actually gives you new kinds of contact animations in a layup animation setting. Once again, I'm activating the right stick up layup method from as far out as the 3-point line, and take a look at that. This registered the layup as open. This is because by activating the layup from this far out, as you can see right here from the 3-point line, it will tell 2K to choose which is the best animation for the given situation, and if there is contact in between you and the basket, it will give you a physical and contact layup animation. And if you have physical finisher, that means you can lay up through this contact really easily. So trust me, I have a separate video on this method. There are other good layups in 2K25, but this is definitely the way to go. Next, let's talk about the dunk stick. So dunking over your opponents and through your opponents might be the most fun thing in 2K25, and in this section we're gonna make sure you dunk on your opponents and not get embarrassed like this. So to initiate a dunk, hold the right stick up left or upright for your standard signature dunk, and the direction of your right stick input will choose which hand you use. What's the importance of choosing the hand that you use? Well, if you choose the wrong hand, you will get blocked like this coming from my right side right there, but since this defender is coming from my left side, I choose my right hand and as a result do not get blocked. Holding the right stick down gives you a signature fancy dunk like this windmill right here. So then you have your skill dunks, which are done by flicking the right stick up and then down and then holding it in that second input and then releasing it, similar to your jump shot meter, just lining up those 2 arrows. Skill dunks are timing based and they come with a certain benefit, but you can just initiate a standard dunk so long as you are in great position and you have the attributes and badges to dunk over your defenders. And in order to do so, positioning is key. So let's go back to that botched contact dunk. The primary reason why this dunk failed is because my defender is in great position. Take a look once again at the shading indicator. It is lit red directly in front of the help defense, which is guarding the basket underneath. Compound to this is that he jumped and forced a contact animation, and while that should be a foul, in 2K25, unfortunately, it is not. So now, against the same defender, almost same interaction, but now he has takeover. Why am I able to dunk over him this time around? Well, first of all, let's take a look once again. Okay, the shading indicator, he's directly in front of me. I shouldn't be able to dunk in front of him, right? Well, now, he actually jumped and changed his angle. If you look at the shading indicators, they're all lit green, which means he wasn't in a good situation to stop that dunk interaction. Realistically, what this means for you as a defender is basically you have to measure where the help defense is coming from and choose when you initiate a contact dunk depending on how far they are from you and if they're able to close the distance between you and the basket and put themselves in a position to stop the dunk. So in this situation right here, I'm able to generate an advantage out of that strong handle blow by. My defenders are at an angle where they cannot contest. The only way to stop this dunk is if they're able to block it. But as you can see right there, my knowledge of the positioning allows me to finish over my defenders, and posterizer is gonna be an important badge for you to do these types of finishes. So it's all about creating an angle and finding the right position to attack the basket, and make sure you do before you embarrass yourself by trying to dunk over a lot of defenders. Okay, now let's go to defense. So we've briefly talked about the defensive system earlier on with the introduction of shading indicators and adrenaline bars, and basically what that means is the goal is to always stay in position and to cut off your defender from attacking any of your vulnerable shading indicators. That means if they're going left, try to cut them off left. You always want to stay in front of your defender, as you can see right here, and then cut them off when they're going left or right. Make sure that you take away their adrenaline bars as long as you get those defensive stops. This is a combination of anticipating defenses, stick skill, knowing the different mechanics, and having the right badges and attributes to stop your defender. But for the most part, if you're very good and disciplined at reading your opponent, you can stop almost anybody. That's why a lot of people rely on screens. There's not a lot of people who have a very diverse offensive bag in 2K. So basically, the main tools you have is to hold L2 to engage in an intense defensive stance. Then move the left stick to the left or to the right, or up left or up right, to create that proper angle. Holding L2 and R2 at the same time while moving the left stick allows you to do fast shuffle defenses, which is good for cutting off your defender. So, the disadvantage of moving left and right while holding L2 in that intense defensive stance is you're slower. You counter this by holding R2, but by relying on L2 and R2, the challenge here is that you can be left behind if you overreact to your guard's movements. So my main tip on defense as a defender is to only hold L2 when you are close to your defender, and hold L2 and R2 in combination with the left stick once you get left behind really quickly. See, the challenge is if you overshoot your matchup, you can left behind just like this, right? If you're interested in becoming a better on-ball defender online, let me know in the comments section below. I can definitely do a separate video on on-ball defense. But as I said, it's about managing when to hold L2, as you can see right here. This defensive interaction starts out with an intense defense left stick plus L2 movement. I'm able to more accurately cut off my defender just by holding L2. That of course comes at the expense of speed, but if you're close to your defender, that's fine, just hold L2. Now after this bump, he tries to counter by bursting the opposite direction, and I try to cover that distance by holding L2 and R2 and then moving the left stick. What happens? Once again, if you rely on L2 and R2 too much, you will overshoot your target because of the fast direction, cannot counter their quick changes of direction. But then that's where stick skill comes into play, and you try to recover on defense by moving the left stick. Okay, now let's go to the contest system, which overall received an improvement in NBA 2K25. So in 2K25, to properly register a contested jump shot, you're gonna have to close the distance between your hand and the ball. So take a look at this interaction right here. I basically just raise up for a pull-up after I blow by my defender. My defender is 6'2", I'm 6'8". I launch for a pull-up jumper, and take a look at where his hand is relative to my hand. It's basically a open shot. So in 2K25, if you cannot close that gap, or if you do not jump to contest, these shots are gonna be registered as open shots. And as we discussed in the shooting section of this video, being open allows you to time your shots way more easily. So what this means for you as a defender, just raising your hands by holding the right stick up isn't enough. You're going to have to jump to block, and even then, sometimes, shots go in. So to jump to block in 2K25, press triangle while holding the left stick towards the direction of where you want to jump. Triangle also serves as the rebound button, but as you can see right here, jumping to contest usually leads to a better contest. Whereas if in this situation you do not get that hand up by jumping, you will not get a tight enough contest in order to alter a lot of these shots, especially if they're pull-up shots or step-back jumpers. Alright, the last tip I want to give is on steals, which is pretty good in 2K25. So to execute a steal, tap square or push the right stick down. This is especially effective when your opponent does a dribble move or some foolishness just like this. Easy tap square, you're going to need the badge glove or a high enough steal rating. So one tip to get pretty effective steals is to crowd out your matchup on the side where the ball is. You want to be up pretty high and then tap square as they initiate a dribble move. Make sure that you do not gamble just out of nowhere, because this is an easy way to get beat by your defender. As you can see right here, we squeeze this opponent by moving into his space and tapping square as he approaches us. That will give you as much success as possible to get those easy block steals. I like to gamble on steals when I have my matchup cornered, especially when I play good lateral defense. You can also get lane interception steals, and to do so, you have to put yourself between the man, the ball, and its target, and make sure that you are looking at the ball. So if you're turned around while the pass is being made, the success of initiating these lane steals or these interceptions goes low really fast. As you can see right here, my body is positioned between the man passing the ball and its intended receiver with my eyes directly on the ball. Just tap square, especially if these are long passes. This will put you in that interception animation. The badge interceptor is good for lane steals, while glove is good for block steals. So there you have it. This video isn't meant to be a comprehensive guide for beginners. If you want all the detailed controls, I have separate videos on a lot of these mechanics. But what hopefully this video gives you is a beginner overview of how to play 2K25. In this video, we discussed everything from dribbling, the basics of shooting, shot creation, defense, and even some of the key settings that you'll need in order to be successful early on in your NBA 2K journey. Now, it's pretty late for 2K25, but think of this as the first step when you want to consider if you want to continue into 2K26. 2K is a very deep game with a lot of systems and mechanics to learn, but this should be a first step for you in your 2K journey.